Hi, I'm Norman Liss, and the name of the program is The Way to Go. Each week at this time, I invite you to join me as we explore places to go and things to do. I think we'll be exploring one of the most unusual leisure time activities today, and what that is touring cemeteries. Now, we're going to find out what it's all about and why it is. And I have guests today who are really experts in the subject. Ronald Vaughan is with the Kensico Cemetery, and Jean Capodilupo is with Woodlawn Cemetery. And I thank you both for coming here today. And it seems like, for some people, not for me, but a most unusual way to spend your leisure time is going to a cemetery. What is the appeal? Why do people visit cemeteries?
Well, first and foremost is to visit their loved ones who are interred or entombed.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about tourists, yes, actually.
But the art, the history, cemeteries are steeped in history. And there are historians out there who love to come to cemeteries.
And there's another reason, and that is that people love to see the rich and famous. Yep. And that's just what Kensico has and Woodlawn has, people who are famous in their time.
And so people go there to see where someone who they've read about or heard about in the near past or the distant past are lying in their permanent home, so to speak.
Exactly.
And is there a way to go? I know that both of you have done maps, and there have been books written on the subject, and we'll get into some of that today. But is there a good way, a bad way? Is weather a factor? Is cemeteries best to visit in the springtime or in the winter? And
well, I think at Woodlawn Cemetery, all the changing seasons of the year are the best times to come, but especially so in the summer and the springtime. They're really very special months.
That would apply to Kensico, too, because Kensico is a rural cemetery, and it's the foliage is magnificent in the spring. Summer, you have the shade, and you have the hills, and it's a very lovely thing to do in the summer and spring months.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that it's lovely in the hills and the flowers. I know, for example, at Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, and I've taken several tours there, they have very specific tours. They have a geological tour. They have a tour that just talks about the flowers. There's some that just talk about the birds. So although we think of a cemetery as a place where our dear ones are laid to their rest, it's more than that. It's the setting, just by nature of what they are, is a beautiful place.
In a way, you almost have to turn the clock back to the last century. You know, in Victorian days, cities were proud of their cemeteries, and they were often right at the city limits, and they were huge affairs with big gates and beautiful sculpture right leading up to the roadway. And people would spend the day to get away from the city. They'd go out to the cemetery and visit.
Exactly.
And they'd spend a complete day there. So what we're both doing is offering people the idea of cemeteries are more than just death and mourning. They're a place to go, things to see.
And I think at Woodlawn you do a lot of that in events that have absolutely no relationship to the fact that people are buried there.
We do concerts and theater. At Woodlawn, we have a lovely chapel where these events take place. Outdoor concerts where I get 5,000 people or more
to come
and listen to fabulous music.
Let's talk about the concerts. Who performs and how is it done?
Well, various groups, but I've worked a lot with a group called the Bronx Arts Ensemble, and on Memorial Day weekend, We have a full orchestra come in. We have a guest conductor, a guest pianist, and sometimes guest soloist who come in and perform, and 5,000 or more people come.
And is this indoors or outdoors?
This is held outdoors.
Outdoors. Is it under a tent?
We set up a tent.
Set up a tent.
Yes, and people bring their folding chairs, and I rent chairs,
And how about theater? You mentioned theater.
Different groups, theatrical groups, primarily for the Bronx. I try to support the Bronx.
Yeah. You're active in the Bronx Arts Council, is it?
Yes, I'm a past president of the council.
So community relationship is you do a lot of that in what you do.
Very much so. Yes.
Getting back to this whole theme of this, several years ago, I wrote a newspaper column about places to go and things to do, and it was called Weird and Wonderful. And there were some places like climbing through a manhole in Brooklyn to explore an old railroad tunnel that really fit into the category of weird. Well, certainly visiting cemeteries for a lot of people may not be weird, but it certainly is unusual, maybe because they haven't experienced it. How about some of these famous people that you're both talking about? Who are buried at your cemeteries?
Well, Herman Melville. Everyone has heard of Herman Melville.
His whale is not buried there.
No. Definitely not. But all the great merchant princes, F.W. Woolworth, James Cash Penney, everyone except the Gimbel family is at Woodlawn. R.H. Macy. Great musicians like Duke Ellington, George M. Cohan, Miles Davis. And we've had concerts to honor and pay tribute to a lot of the great musicians.
And that would apply, very much to what Jean is talking about, would apply to Kensico, composers like Sergei Rachmaninoff. And then, of course, there's Tommy Dorsey. Probably the most visited gravesite at Kensico is Sergei Rachmaninoff. And often, dancers and musicians from around the world will find their way, not just local artists will find their way to his grave. And the other one, second most visited, I would guess, and there's no way to verify this, but probably would be Lou Gehrig. That is amazing. And again, worldwide, many Japanese tourists actually detour through Kensico on a vacation just to pay tribute to him. So there's any number. On our official tour, we have some 34 different stops to make. My own little favorite is a marvelous one, and it's the gravesite of Harriet Quimby, who was the very first woman in America to hold a pilot's license. She's the first woman to fly solo over the English Channel. She has a charming gravesite complete with an engraving of her little mono-wing or bi-winged airplane. So this is really what people do. They come to see not just the gravesite, but what a way to get in touch with some of these famous people.
And also the tombstones themselves and the mausoleums, is that what you call them?
Yes.
Architecturally, from an art viewpoint, they're incredible. You talk about the airplane. You drive and you see in the maps, which I'll go into in a moment, that this is where a famous person is buried. And you come around the turn and you're following a map, and suddenly this palace suddenly emerges on the top of a hill. Why do people do that? Why?
I think it's the need to be remembered. We all want to be remembered and memorialized, and that's their way of memorializing.
Do people plan their own site and their own gravestones, or is it their?
I think most people do. Yes.
They plan them and say, this is the way I want it. And are they planned years in advance, some of them?
Yes, I would agree with Jean, especially the very large ones probably have been planned for many, many years before the need to construct them or place them.
But they're not built before the person dies, are they?
In some cases,
they
yes. Are. Yes, sure.
And are there more than people in some of these magnificent structures? That's the only way I can describe them. Are there more than one people in there? Are they're family sites?
Yes,
oh, yes.
Yes.
And some of them are built even before they're used and placed on location?
Yes, they are.
The mausoleum at Woodlawn for the Belmonts. Mrs. Belmont was married to William K. Vanderbilt. her first husband, and she started the plans for the mausoleum at Woodlawn, and it was going to be the Vanderbilt Mausoleum. But when she divorced William Kay, she went right along with her plans when she married Oliver Hazard Perry Beaumont.
It's almost like visiting Newport in miniature, I suppose.
That's right. That's
Exactly.
right.
And how do people tour? Is the best way to go by car, on foot? I know that both of you can arrange for groups to have buses do tours. What is the best way for an individual to go there? Now, you have maps. First of all, let's talk about it. There is a map of the Woodlawn Cemetery, which is extensive and gives a lot of information. And new on the scene is this historic and scenic tour of Kensico. Now, we'll get into some more literature in just a moment, but in this particular tour, not only is there a colorful map, but there are individual cards which talk about the individual people and give some of their background. So it's not just driving through, but you're learning about the people who you may not know. And just to go into this a little further, this map, which I'm going to try to open here and see how much of it we can show on the camera. It's a lot to go. It's very, very colorful, and there's an awful lot in there. And it really takes you through on a guided tour without any help at all. Now,
But Woodlawn's map also is keyed, and it lists many of the famous people on the back part of it.
yes,
too,
I saw
so,
that.
yes.
I saw that too. But there's more to that than the literature. There are books. Now, there is a book called The Story of Woodlawn. There's a small version written by Edward Streeter. Who is Edward Streeter?
He's a very famous author who wrote Dear Mabel and chairman of the board, and he served briefly as president of Woodlawn and on our board for many, many years.
And another book, which was written about Woodlawn, actually. This was not produced by Woodlawn.
Yes, I worked with.
Oh, you did work with them,
Professor Bergman.
I mean, it's amazing how much literature exists, and even beyond that, there's another book which is written strictly on cemeteries called Silent Cities, which covers an awful lot of information.
Isn't that a wonderful title?
Yeah, it's great.
Silent Cities.
Yeah.
So the interesting, the reason I'm showing all of this is for those who may think that it's unusual. There's an awful lot of interest and a lot has been done. The subject of rubbing of gravestones, how does that work, and why do people do it, and what do they do?
Well, to answer that from a layman's standpoint, since I've never done it myself, I have seen rubbings in their finished form, framed and mounted, and of course they're just extraordinary.
Let's talk about what a rubbing is.
Well, a rubbing, in my understanding, and in just watching people do that, rubbings are a special type of tissue paper which would be placed over the surface to be transferred, and then it's rubbed with charcoal. It picks up the impression. I've seen that, believe it or not, more in a trip to Europe than I have here. In Europe, it seems like every cemetery has groups of people doing rubbings of, not just the name, but some of that beautiful old scroll work and things like that. I'm not sure that we do it with the same vigor in this country as visitors to Europe do.
Well, we've done rubbing tours at Woodlawn.
Have you really?
Yes, and I love doing them. There are a couple of methods of lifting these images off of tombstones. You use a rice paper and a special crayon, and it just lifts beautifully. And then there's a liquid that you can dab on the paper, and it also lifts very lovely.
So the purpose in doing this is to frame them and keep them at home, or put them in albums. Is that what people do?
Yeah. There's a lady whose name is Cecily Firestein, and she's written a book on rubbings, and she has done rubbing tours at Woodlawn. She came into Woodlawn and did a rubbing of a lovely scroll, and actually had a jeweler make a necklace for her, just from this rubbing that she did.
I just want to tell our audience that we're talking today about touring cemeteries, and my guests today are Ronald Vaughan of the Kensico Cemetery and Jean Capodilupo, who is at the Woodlawn Cemetery. And it's a subject perhaps that many people don't think about, but as we talk to you, we find out that there's a lot more to it than you would think. Now, I understand from both of you that this is not just something that people come from locally. You mentioned the Japanese visitors who want to see Lou Gehrig.
Yes,
you get a lot of visitors from other countries and other parts of this country?
I've had visitors from Japan. In fact, every year we get visitors from Japan. But we've also had people come in from Switzerland. A lot of monument dealers throughout the world come to look at some of the different monuments that Woodlawn has. And it's almost 400 acres.
Monuments, the subject of monuments, they are so distinctive. There are those that are like out of a pattern book, and you decide what you want. But a lot of them are really individually designed,
Yes.
and they reflect the life and the spirit of the people.
Exactly.
And who does them? Are there people who are they're architects, but are there architects for monuments?
Well, that would be a very good description. That's what a monument company does. They will work with you and design virtually anything that you could imagine. One of the things that when you go to a cemetery as old as Kensico and, of course, as old as Woodlawn, you have the advantage of actually seeing a little bit of history in terms of art culture. You can see the evolution of design from what it might have been before the turn of the century through the Art Deco period and up to modern times. You know, it's really like seeing a museum without walls when you go through, because you're seeing almost anything and everything that can be cast or created in stone, granite.
You mentioned that the monument companies can do any design. So basically, if someone is interested in something unusual, they just go to a monument company.
Sure.
And so they will find someone to do it, or they have someone to do it. Do people have their own designers and then say, "This is what I want"? Would you
Some
produce
of them
it?
do, sure.
Is that
Surely.
unusual?
No, I don't think so. Do you,
I
Ron?
don't.
No.
No, not at all. It's more typical than you might imagine.
One of the things that interests me when I visit your cemeteries is that there are some monuments that are eloquent in their simplicity, and some that are eloquent in portraying the elegance, maybe, or the character of the person. So really, you could probably say there are no two the same anywhere.
All the stones that I can imagine, Gene, I'm sure the same, that you have the same thing, are very individualistic. They're a signature of the person. On Tommy Dorsey's gravesite, which is very, very plain and very, very simple. But there is his trombone. So there's the signature. And if you look carefully so often, you'll find a signature, maybe in an art form.
Let's talk about the unusual ones. I think you have a bench for Danny Kaye.
Yes, Danny Kaye, instead of the traditional type of monument, Danny Kaye has a bench. And Gene, we just received this recently. I don't even know if you've had the chance to see it, but the back of the bench, the standing portion, the part that you would lean against, is a bronze relief with items cast in there, roughly drawn, obviously of importance to his life. There's a chef's hat, a UNICEF symbol, an airplane, a piano. Now, we don't always know the reasons for all of these, nor are we advised of it, but that is really amazing when you look at that, to see those little elements of his life.
And that's at his gravesite?
At his gravesite.
Instead of a stone.
Instead of a stone. And the concept is, I guess, come and sit a while.
And Miles Davis, while he did not design his monument, his family did, but it's this huge block of black granite, and across the front are the words Sir Miles Davis, and there's his trumpet on one end, and then the notes of one of his songs, cut into the stone.
Terrific.
What are some of the other interesting and unusual monuments that people can think of? I noted, for example, there are an awful lot of Asian stones, which are quite different in Kensico. I assume that you have the same in Woodlawn.
Yes,
There's a different procedure, I understand, in planning the site and preparing the site there.
You have to be sensitive in operating a cemetery or managing one. You have to be sensitive to people's cultural and religious needs. And Asian families, for example, would have a different cultural need than possibly somebody from Western or Eastern Europe. So you have to be sensitive to that. There may be a type of hill may be of more significance, perhaps a compass direction, so that the lot will face, the grave will face a certain direction. And even to the monuments. Sometimes the wording or the styling on the monument is different than you might assume would be the normal. But as we get all of us to be more multinational, I'm sure we're seeing more and more of that, and it's very exciting.
There's a monument in Woodlawn to a young man who died on his birthday, his 15th birthday. And his grandfather felt the need to tell the story of how this young man died. And it simply says, lost life by fall on an ink eraser, evading 6 young women trying to give him birthday kisses in the office of the Metropolitan Life Building. Poor shy George. George Spencer Millay, and that's down near our lake area.
And that's true. Some people have a sense of humor. We have one that says, I expected it, but not this soon.
Yeah.
So sometimes you really do find a sense of humor with some people.
It reminds me of a Woody Allen line that says, I'm not afraid of dying, I just don't want to be there when it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what makes the human experience so interesting on these things.
You mentioned that there are certain considerations. Is it necessary to get permission to put a particular burial site on your map and draw people's attention to it?
Well, I'm sorry, Gene, go ahead.
When you say permission
From the family.
I don't think if the person is in the public domain, like a Duke Ellington, I don't think we have to.
I see.
But if we just a person who has not gained fame or whatever, I would think you would have to.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
And what Gene is relating to is the same thing we have to be very cautious of. And you mentioned it earlier, there are many books that are already in the public domain which would tell people to visit Kensico and you can see such and such a grave, visit Woodlawn and you'll see the following graves. The idea behind the tour in concept, part of that idea is to organize it in such a fashion that people will do it properly and safely and that we'll be aware of what's happening. And so the self-guided tour really is the best way to control what is already in the public domain, actually.
Right,
Now, using your maps, people can, what do? They come to the office and pick up a map and then get in their car or on foot, depending on how much they want to cover in a day, because it could be hours, it could be several visits, actually.
Yes, it could be several visits, depending on how you approach it.
I know after I picked up your map not too long ago that we drove around for an hour, and I don't think we covered a quarter of what there was to see. And I've toured Woodlawn using your map, and I've also been on a bus tour with you, and I know you can only cover a small portion. So it's something that you can come back to. Perhaps, as we were talking at the beginning of this program, come back in different seasons because you see different things.
But on a bus tour, you're able to cover
a lot more.
What I do, call my tour. I have a scheduled route that I take, and I take everyone around.
Yeah.
And I do all the tours at Woodlawn.
Yes.
Walking, on a walking tour, we just do quadrants,
Sure.
and then I invite the people to come back at different seasons of the year.
So what people should do is come to the office, and your location is?
It's in Valhalla, just off the Bronx River Parkway, Lakeview Avenue.
And it's clearly marked.
Oh, it's very clearly marked. There's very clear directions, and it sits 100 yards off the parkway.
And Woodlawn, what's the best way
to? It's in the Bronx, New York, and you come to Webster Avenue and 233rd Street, and I'm usually there. Ask for me, and I'll be very happy to talk to.
And in the office, you can pick up a map and go off on your own tour.
Exactly.
Yes.
What we want to do now is to give a telephone number that people can call for further information. So, Jean, what number should be called for Woodlawn?
718-920-0500.
And what for Kensico?
Well, here in Westchester, it would be 949-0347.
That's 914 first.
914 area code, then 949-0347.
And we'll put those telephone numbers on the screen in the closing credits so people can write it down if they didn't have a chance. I do also want to mention at this point that there is a tour that is conducted by a man named Edward Azif that he calls Crypts of the Rich and Famous. And he just takes groups around and takes them to different cemeteries. A lot of the things that you're talking about, if anybody's interested in that, his number is 914-591-4559. That's 914-591-4559. Now, how about groups? If groups want to come and have a tour, do they call those numbers and ask for either one of you? Is that how it's worked out?
They call Woodlawn, they would ask for me.
Uh-huh.
And that would apply at Kensico, too.
And what kind of groups do you get?
Well, Gene, your tour has been in existence far beyond ours. Why don't you...
Well, I get museums. I think every museum in the city of New York has come to Woodlawn on bus or walking tours, except the Metropolitan Museum. I get historical groups. We do geological tours.
I know the Bronx Historical Society sponsored a tour that I was on that you did.
And I'm now working in conjunction with the Bronx Tourism Council, and in the summer months they have a bus that comes in and we take people on tours.
I would say that now that our tour is in place and we have it published, the ideal candidates to take the tour, I would think, would be school groups, library groups, social groups that might be looking for something unusual, interesting to do. And we're fully prepared to do that now.
Any size in particular?
That's hard to really prejudge. I think if we had enough advance notice, that size would not be a factor. The only reason I'm so confident about that is we introduced our tour at our annual meeting. Unlike an annual meeting where a few lot owners might attend, we had almost 600 lot owners, all of whom we invited on the tour, most of whom said wonderful, and I think we had a total of 3 large buses that day. So we now know that if we have a group of virtually any size, the transportation can be arranged.
Well, I thank you very much, both of you, for coming. Our subject today, of course, has been touring cemeteries, and this has been, in quotes, a very lively discussion. My guests today on the subject of touring cemeteries have been Gene Capodilupo of Woodlawn Cemetery and Ronald Vaughan of the Kensico Cemetery. Visit cemeteries. You'll find them interesting and different. I'm Norman Liss. The name of the program is The Way to Go. And until next week at the same time, enjoy yourself.